Hey guys, Jim here. Pretty excited about uploading this particular video. This is it's a new acquisition. Not really so new. I've had it for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I've been so busy, I haven't had time to upload videos and stuff, and I apologize for that. But this is one that really excites me because this is the first time I've had the opportunity to own a Jens Anso. This is the Jens Anso Cato. And it actually kind of breaks some barriers for me, mainly in the blade shape. You guys have heard me comment in the past that I don't like banana-shaped blades. However, with what he's done here, with the way he's done his grind, and the way it just kind of comes up and then swoops back downward, yes, it looks like a whale. This is incredible to me. I think this is probably one of the sexiest blade profiles I've ever seen. And of course, having this huge belly is going to make it very useful as well. Fantastic quality overall, nice action, great materials. The thing with Jens is this, though. You're not going to get on his books. If you're not able to find one of his knives at a dealer, you don't see him at a show and win into one of his lotteries, then you just got to pray that you follow him on Instagram and he lists that he's getting ready to do a flash sale. He usually does about 5 knives at a time. He'll give you about an hour heads up, and that's when you know to go over to his website and keep hitting refresh until your finger's raw, and then you might, if you're lucky, get one. You don't even have time, unfortunately, to look at all 5 of them and go, well, I like this, but I'd rather have this. No, you just got to click one, add it to cart, and fucking buy it, or you're never going to see it, because that's what happened to me. Out of the 5 he had, there was one that I wanted. And I went straight for it. I had it in my cart, and boom, it was gone before I got finished checking out. So it was like, 30 seconds. So I am actually very fortunate because it was a fellow Instagrammer. And what I did was I'd seen this on his profile. I went, oh man, that is such a sexy ass blade. If you ever want to sell it, please let me know. And he says, actually, I'm kind of considering selling it right now if you want it. And I said, okay, well, let's go ahead and do that. I'm actually the 4th owner of this knife. This knife is the dirty whore of the internet, but that's okay. It really still is in brand new condition all the way around. Nobody that's had it before abused it. The one thing that was done to it actually makes it made it a viable purchase for me, because for some reason Jens is one of those makers that favors tip-down carry. I'll never figure that out for the life of me. So one of the previous owners actually had the clip reversed and put over here. Now that actually makes it upside down because of the maker's mark on there. I really don't care. That doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. So what you're getting into here with the Cato is it's listed on some sites as 3 1/4 inches, some sites 3 1/2. It depends on where you're measuring it from, but it really is going to be like a 3 1/2 inch knife. To give you a quick size comparison, I'm not very well prepared. Well, here's a knife I got today, so I can put it up next to that. You guys know the size of the zero tolerance 0801. This is just the CF model. But it doesn't change the dimensions at all. So it's just a little bit shorter overall than the 0801, which, by the way, probably one of the coolest production knives ever. I'm glad I bought 2 of them. This is the perfect carry size. I was really worried that it was going to be too small, and when I was going back and forth with Alex, the owner of the knife that I purchased it from, it was really all about the size. And he's like, it's really hard to translate. He goes, let me just send you the knife, and if you like it, then you can buy it. If you don't like it, you can send it back, which was, you gotta realize this is a not inexpensive knife. So I was rather flattered that he was so trusting of me to do that. So that was really cool of him to do. So he sent it out to me, and I ended up sending him one of my knives because I just felt it's only the right thing to do. Plus, I gave him a chance to play with something a little bit different. And I got it, and I'll be honest with you, when I first opened the tube, because Jens ships his knives in these really cool tubes, and I pulled it out, I was like, oh, I don't know. I just don't know. But it didn't take more than a couple of hours of me playing with it, me holding it in my hand, to really get an appreciation for it, and I really fell in love with it. And here are the things, I'll just get them right out of the way in the beginning, that I was most worried about. One was the fact that it was a smaller knife, but the handle is actually quite long. You'll see it actually hangs out the back of my grip here, and I wear a size large glove, so that's a good sized handle on there. The ergonomics are fantastic. I can even choke up a little bit here because it gives you a little bit of room. No choil, but a little bit of room there so you can kind of choke up on it. So you've got a few nice handholds. But the other thing that I was a bit unsure of is I've always wanted a knife with a superconductor copper niobium inlay. And I looked at this and went, well, it's not the traditional honeycomb. Copper niobium actually comes in a lot of varying different types of patterns. And I don't know if there's a name for this particular pattern, but the problem was when you look at it kind of from a distance, it looks like an old weathered wood inlay because it's already started to develop patina, so it's not a shiny copper at all. And it looks like, you know, striations that you would see in wood. And I don't like wood onlays, inlays, scales, handles, none of that. It's just, I don't like it. So I was really unsure on that. And I'm still not 100% sold on it as far as the looks go. But it is still superconductor. It is super rare. It is very, very hard to get. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So I'm fine with that. But the action of the knife, the way that it felt, just incredible. And that blade, let me show you a nice close-up on this blade. Super, super gorgeous. I mean, you got to realize that is not an easy grind to achieve. It really isn't. His symmetry is fantastic. Left side to right side. And there are going to be plenty of people, I'm sure there's going to be lots of comments about how this is the ugliest damn knife they ever saw in their life. I get that. This is going to be a polarizing kind of design, as is really most of Jens's work. But I love it. I fell completely in love with that shape. So let's talk about superconductor just a little bit. So what we have here, we have bronzed and tumbled titanium for the frame with the bronze titanium standoffs. And then you get to your superconductor inlay. The whole deal behind superconductor is it's a material that has no resistance to the flow of electricity. So it was a great quote that I read months and months ago when I was first researching superconductor, when I did the review on the Brad Southard Aught. And please go watch that because I'll get a lot more in depth on that material there. They said it was a material where the electrons move more smoothly than skates on ice, or something to that effect. I thought that was a really cool way of describing it. And the reason why superconductor exists in knife making and some other industries right now is because in the 1980s, the United States was actually going to build their own version of what is now famous as the Super Hadron Collider. And the government decided to can the project sometime in the 1980s. I'm not really sure why. But the manufacturer of the superconductor material had already made tons of it. So I'm not sure what was purchased by the government or how he got paid or if he got paid, but he had a lot of surplus material, and it's made its way into a few different industries. And what's cool about it is basically you have three different types of niobium. You have, well, actually four. You have your raw, true, straight up niobium, pure niobium. Then you have niobium alloys like niobium tin and titanium niobium, and of course the copper niobium. And so what they're actually doing is they're taking the copper particles and brushing them onto the surface of pure niobium, or they'll do it on some niobium alloy strip like the niobium tin or titanium niobium. And then it's wound helically on a coil for electroplating a thin copper layer onto a one-strip surface. And that coated strip is then annealed to above 900 degrees centigrade for about 30 minutes. And then that copper plating is used again as the roll, as the carrier is continued onto the copper layer until it gets to the thickness that they really want. So the conductivity or the lack of, I should say, is in the actual niobium. And then for whatever the particular industry needs, they're doing the process of incorporating titanium or tin or the copper that you're seeing here. And I think there's even a ceramics form of niobium as well, or they work in conjunction together for certain things. And that's a way to take a material that gets heated up tremendously in whatever that machine or that device is doing, and it completely dissipates heat, so it cools down almost instantly. So where those kind of needs are exist, that's what this stuff is good for. For us, it's going to be purely decorative. And if you like this particular pattern, you're going to be in love with it. Like I said, I prefer the traditional honeycomb. That's just me. Now, as far as this goes, no more exists from that manufacturer. They're done. They're completely done. As a matter of fact, I just talked to Jeff Tough Thumbs the other day, and he got what he was told were the last 3 pieces that came from the manufacturer. We're also certain that there are people out there that are hoarding it, that there will still be some out there. But as far as getting it from that manufacturer, he's under the impression that he has the last 3 pieces. One's being built for, used for a build for a high-profile customer. One I think he's going to do for maybe an auction piece in the future. And one of those pieces is going to be in my next knife from him in his switch model. He's going to be taking one of those superconductor pieces and doing some inlay work on my knife. So that'll actually be the second I've ever had a chance to own. This is an incredible, it's an incredible material. It's cool because it's so rare. And it was used for such a cool thing. If you're like a science geek or whatever, you're really, really going to be into it. Now, as far as the utility of the knife, it's fantastic. One of the things that I love about the build is the thumb stud. Something as simple as a thumb stud. But look at the detail that Jens puts into that. I mean, it's hard to say a thumb stud is beautiful, but I think that this qualifies. Another thing that I love is the finish. Now, it is a beautiful, attractive finish with this nice, completely even, matte finish, bead blasted steel. But think about this also. Once you bead blast steel, you're losing any stainless properties that it has. So you're going to have to take a little bit more precautions with it. I use my Aegis EDCI solution. I don't have to worry about that. But keep in mind, if you have any bead blasted blades, stainless steel, whatever, you're running that risk of corrosion, so please do keep that in mind. But then across the top, he's done a beautiful hand rub satin, so you get a bit of a two-tone. Now, most makers would put a two-tone in the flats versus the swedge and the primary bevel, and I kind of like the fact that it's all one tone. I like that. But because of how deep the concaves are here, it actually picks up shadows. So it creates its own two-tone. That's another thing that I fell in love with this knife because of. It's just, the lights just dance across that blade and create such a wonderful illusion. And then there's that beautiful satin. And that goes all the way down the spine, all the way to the tip. Very simplified hardware, a very basic torque screw for your pivot. Nice kind of a moon disc on the back side there, just nice and smooth. He's got the pinned hardware here. I like this. You don't see screw heads or anything on this side. I kind of dig that. He did leave a lanyard hole here for those that prefer using a lanyard. On this particular knife, the way the clip is set up, it's a nicely made clip. It's not fancy. It's not pretty. I don't think it's worthy of a knife that sells between $1,200 and $1,600. But it's effective and it works very, very well. So I haven't needed to put a lanyard on this particular knife. There's, again, a couple more torque screws. Everything's bronzed. Everything is lightly tumbled, so it's got a nice little sparkle effect to it. His relief cut is mostly hidden by the pocket clip now, which it wouldn't have been the way he originally built it. Nice clean cutout for the lock bar. There is the lockup. Nice and early, super early as a matter of fact. Nice clean pass-through design here with just the standoffs. It's actually a really lightweight knife. Fairly thin on the titanium. It's nicely contoured. So you get that bit of a palm swell. It's not a completely flat surface. so it fills the hand. It doesn't really fill the hand, but it feels like it's a little bit more substantial in the hand than it actually is. Overall, I love the knife. It's something I've been carrying it quite often since I received it. And as far as the functionality of it, the beauty of it, I really don't find a flaw in it. The inlay, and this is, I've only handled 2 of Jens's knives. Both had inlays. One was the, what was it called? The Zeta, which was the collaboration he did with Lucas Burnley. And I did do a review on that. It was a guest blade. And I had to call out the same thing. The inlay does not sit well with the outer lying material. Number one, you can see the seam, but number 2, you can feel it. The titanium is thicker than the inlay, so you do feel the seam. Now, it's a good inlay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's shoddy workmanship. But if this were a $600 knife, I think that would be totally acceptable. This is not a $600 knife. Now, unfortunately, I cannot speak to how much he sold it for initially. But I was pointed to the ad where the owner before the last purchased this knife. It was over on Arizona Custom Knives, and it was either $1,500 or $1,600. Actually, it was $1,600. I was very fortunate not to pay quite that much, but I am damn close to it in my investment. And I'll be honest with you, if this were a $600 to $800 knife, I would love it even more. With the money that I have into it, it's some days it's hard for me to justify what I spent. I'll be perfectly honest. It is, and that's not a knock against the knife. It is very well made, beautiful action. Everything about it is fantastic. But it was the dollar amount invested would have put a higher level of detail work into a knife. I mean, what I've got into it would get you starting into a Frank Fisher Battle or into an even more premium grade version of the Commander. It would get you into a Todd Fisher Archangel, single or non-bolstered. It would get you into a Jim Burke Villain. I mean, there are certain knives out there that have different, levels of detail and workmanship and, wow factor. And at this price range, it does not live up to that. Now, again, you can't hold that against Jens because he does not sell it for that. I can't verify the exact dollar amount, but it was not that $1,500, $1,600. So I think for what he's charging, giving a guess as to what I think it would be with the Superconductor Inlay being more expensive, I think he's really, really close in matching up his quality level with the price paid. But for the aftermarket prices, maybe if I would have bought this from a dealer, I may have sent it back because of the amount of money I spent. But since I bought it from somebody that I know, I wanted to just follow through with the sale. And you know what? I'm really happy that I did. I do love this knife. I enjoy carrying it. I enjoy using it. And the cool thing is I have yet to show a single mark. Again, I'm not abusing it, but this has gone through some cardboard. It has gone through a couple of straps. And there's not, at least I haven't seen, maybe I'll see under the HD lens here when I watch this later, but I have not seen a mark anywhere on that beautiful blade. That clean, bead-blasted blade. God, that is sexy as shit. There are certain knives that we're never going to be able to rationally justify to ourselves. It's going to be an emotional reaction. And as with anything else that we have a passion for in our lives, whether it's knives or, watch collecting or cars, motorcycles, boats, horses, whatever it is, you're going to be able to justify things to yourself for different reasons. And sometimes it's going to be on an emotional level. And there's something about this knife. I can't put my finger on one individual thing, but I think it's the sum of the parts, the total sum of everything that's been done here is what makes me love this knife as much as I do. And Jens has been a knife maker since 1988. He went full-time around 2001, and he was self-taught. And that's what's so cool. I love to see guys coming up that way. He didn't, he read magazines and he read books about knife making, and then he started, after he got into it, he started talking to other knife makers and kind of getting ideas from here and there. But he never really sat down with somebody and apprenticed in a shop. He didn't take any kind of instructional courses. He just kind of did it on his own. He's an engineer. That's what he went to college for. And he's taken that engineering degree and done these beautiful organic designs. That's what I respect so much about Jens and his work. It's organic. It has a flow. It has a certain degree of life and soul in the way that it's been designed. Like there's not a sharp, straight edge on this. There's not one straight edge on this entire knife, except for right here. That's it. Just the lead in for the grind. That's it. Okay, the lock bar cut out, so I apologize. But as far as the overall design of the knife, when you look at it from here, everything is soft and flowing and has like this natural, organic kind of feel to it. And the cool thing is he takes a lot of his inspiration from architecture and various different things in the world. He's never drawing from one single inspiration. So from design to design, you don't know where he's going to go. And I like that unexpected quality to his work. Let's give you one last HD close-up on the way out the door. If you ever watch one of my videos and it's not an HD, it's because you caught it as soon as it uploaded. Give it about an hour and it will load, it will process in YouTube up to full 1080 HD always. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here for right now. Please do follow me on Instagram if you don't already. And that is under Jim Skelton TV. Very super easy to find. And I'd love to chat it up with you and see the collections that you guys have going on. I'm going to get out of here for now. I've got a few more videos to get done. So until then, I'll see you next time.